probably will go no more than a couple of feet to the right or left. Go ahead, Charles.
You're good.
I'm working from the storytelling manual, which is an advanced manual, and the assignment is number 1, to tell a folk tale. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bees and the Bear, a Bezorkistani folk tale. It was a quiet time in the forest. The bees were buzzing, the flowers were flowering, and the animals were hithering and thithering, all except for one. The largest bear in the forest, named Albert, lay sleeping, snoring gently, his snout covered with honey, sting lumps, and beeswax. He looked as if he were in paradise. The bees whose hives Albert had ransacked, though, were anything but happy. Their buzzing grew angrier and angrier. Inside the hive, it sounded like a poorly played kazoo cantata. How does this Albert think he is, anyway? Railed one bee, his stinger quivering in indignation. It takes us weeks to fill up a hive with honey, and he knocks the whole thing over in 2 seconds. He's done that to 3 of our hives in the last 4 weeks. I say he's got to be stopped. Much supported buzzing at that. I say we attack him en masse and show him what it feels like to be taken apart. From another part of the hive, a young bee named Bernardo piped up, saying, "That won't get us what we want." And the angry bee said, "What? Why won't attacking work? We just want to hurt him like he's hurt us." Bernardo said, "In point of fact, he hasn't actually hurt us. It's true, he's destroyed weeks and weeks and weeks of our work, but he has not gone out of his way to physically harm us bees." And there were pockets in the hive where you could hear the buzzes going, "That's right, I hadn't thought about that. By George, I think he's got it." And there are other reasons, Bernardo continued, not to attack. First of all, we're honeybees. When we sting, we die. Remember that? And if we attacked him en masse, we would make him furious. And he would take his huge paw and his huge claws, and he would smush us like flies. There was silence in the hive at this, partially because bees hate to be compared to flies. But they could see Bernardo's logic. "Okay, smart guy. If we can't attack him, how are we going to get him back for what he's done?" Bernardo said, "We can't think in terms of getting him back. If we do, a lot of us will die." And there was a picture, and the bees unconscious, the entire hive's unconscious, of long, rolling green fields, festooned with thousands of tiny white crosses. Bernardo is only a bear. He's only doing what bears have done for tens of thousands of years to get food. I'll bet he has no idea of the damage that he's causing us. I think we can help him understand. "What? Reason with a bear? Are you crazy? He'll smush us like..." And the angry bee desperately tried to come up with a word that was not flies. Bernardo said, "Well, if we don't talk to him, how are we going to know what he's willing to do?" The angry bee said, "I think we should sting first and talk to him afterward." Bernardo said, "Okay, you can do that. Of course, if we arrive in an agreement afterwards, you won't be around to reap any of its benefits." That shut the angry bee up. I'm going to fly over, and I'm going to find Albert, and I'm going to see if we can arrive at some kind of an arrangement. And even though he was terrified, Bernardo took off, following the sounds of snoring and the smell of honey, and ultimately he came to a glade, and he looked down, and there was Albert. His first thought was, "My heavens, Albert is as big as a mountain." But as Albert lay sleeping, Bernardo very carefully descended his ear and sat on a hair. Bernardo said, "Albert!" Now, normally a bee's buzz is not a very loud sound, but because Albert was sitting inside, Bernardo was sitting inside Albert's ear, what he heard was, "Albert, Albert, Albert, Albert." There was a snuffling and a snorting, and one huge eye opened up and looked around. And Albert said, "Did somebody say something?" Bernardo was getting ready to answer when Albert decided he was going to stand up. And while he stood up, Bernardo had to hold on for dear life. And finally, when he was vertical, Bernardo found the presence of mind to say, My name is Bernardo, and I'm a bee, and I'd like to speak to you if possible." Albert froze. He looked around, and he said, "Okay, I'll talk to you. But first," and he said this with some concern, "can you tell me exactly where you are?" And Bernardo said, "I'm sitting in your ear." Albert then turned around 3 times. If Bernardo had not been so petrified, he might have found it amusing watching someone trying to look inside their own ear. "Okay, I'll take your word for it. What is it that you wanted to talk to me about?" "It's about the honey you eat." "Oh, that's my favorite food. It's simply scrumptious." "Yes, but did you know that it's the bees' primary food, and that without it, we die?" "No, I didn't know that. But isn't it in the bear's nature to eat honey?" And Bernardo had to allow as though that was so. "Then wouldn't I be crazy to do it any other way?" he said with impeccable bear logic. Bernardo said, "No, you wouldn't be crazy. I'm just here to suggest a way where both of us could get what we need." "I already have what I need, tons of honey." Bernardo said, "Well, yeah, but it's not exactly a small deal to get that honey. You have to find the hive, you have to climb the tree, you have to knock the top off the hive, and then when you are taking your big claws and paw and putting honey towards your mouth, you get stung 1,000,000 times." "Yes, that's true. Sometimes my snout is swollen for weeks afterwards. For being as tiny as you guys are, you pack a mean sting." Bernardo tried very hard not to look proud. "Well, what if you could get all the honey you wanted, whenever you wanted it, without the stings, without the work?" "That would be heaven." "Okay," said Bernardo. "Picture a larger than normal hive filled with bear quality honey." Albert liked the sound of that you could go to any time, in any way, without any problem, and eat the honey. And all you would have to do is promise us not to attack the other hives. Albert pondered. "Well, bears are not stupid. Neither are they lightning quick." Albert said, let me see if I've got this right. All the honey I want, whenever I want it, and all I have to do is not attack your other hives?" Bernardo said, "Well, there is one other request of you." And Albert got furious. He said, "Whoa!" He said, "Well, I thought we had a deal. What's going on here? What are you trying to pull?" Bernardo said, "I'm not trying to pull anything. My concern is that while we have an arrangement with you, we do not have an arrangement with any of the other bears. And, you know, we are so small, and the bears are so mighty." Albert pulled himself up to his full height, stuck his barrel chest out, and went, "Mrrr!" You forget that I am the biggest bear in the forest. I will tell those bears not to attack your hives, and if they do, I will rake them with my razor-sharp claws. Bernardo said, then we have a deal. Bernardo then flew back to the hive and explained the arrangement that he'd arrived at with Albert. And after handling some objections, because there are always those who prefer the old way, no matter how horrible it was, the bees agreed that Bernardo had been a very effective bee-bear negotiator. And thus it came to pass that theirs was the only forest in the world where only one bear was allowed to eat honey. The lesson of the story: while stings can kill, words can move mountains, even a fir.